Hello, everyone, and welcome to Emerging Brands Franchises on the Rise. I'm your host, Cash Miller. I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. On this show, we talk to franchises that are up and coming. I mean, we got all sorts of concepts that we've talked to. And today we're going to be talking painting. I've got with me lime painting, and they are really booming. I mean, this is like came out of the pandemic and they are growing rapidly. Nick Lopez is the founder. Nick, it's great to have you on. Tell us a bit about Lime. Why did you get this thing started and where's it going?
Oh my goodness. Well, my story starts in college, and it's crazy to think that I'm in year 16 now. But yeah, back in 2008, I was 18, started a painting company called Spartan College Painters. I was an out-of-state student at Michigan State. Pretty much just took out a $500 credit card and I was off to college. And I looked at wrestling behind the national champ at my weight class and taking over from there. But the reality was the scholarship was a couple years out. I did wrestle my freshman year, roommated with that national champion, which was an honor, and made so many great memories in that season of life. But the unfortunate thing is that it came to an end. And it came to an end because I followed that theme, maxed out some more credit cards, and received a $2,200 college bill. And when you don't have 2,200 cents, that is a lot of money. Thankfully, my now wife, mother of 4 kids, she lent me that $2,200, and that's how I stayed in school. But clearly that wasn't sustainable. So that's when I started Spartan College Painters. I remember going through neighborhoods and seeing foreclosure signs, like they were real estate signs. So if you think about the economy in Detroit with the auto industry there around the Great Recession, that was the setting. And here I was, no experience and 18 years old, just very grateful for those clients that trusted me, and did that for all 5 years in college, and never really thought I would own a paint company in my career. I always thought that I was going to go to South Florida and do commercial real estate development. Miami had a property development master's program with the JD. And so, I had never really gone to Florida before. And so my wife, her family always traveled from Michigan to Florida. You need to get out of there in the winter. And so I would go with them and just fell in love with it. And that was my dream job. That's what I was doing. But here was this painting business just wooing me to it, falling in love with it. I'd never really done in-home sales before. And, here I am working for these custom homeowners. There's instant gratification in that transformation. And it just wooed me from the business, but also the opportunity. And so I started getting into my business degree and learning about very basic things like competitive advantage. And what I was experiencing in the market was compliments for very basic things like showing up, answering my phone, doing a good job. On the front end, I'd hear, "Hey, Nick, are you going to run off with my deposit check? Are you going to charge me more? Are you going to job hop?" I'm like, what does job hop mean? Right? They're like, well, you leave and you come back and we don't see you in between. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. And so light bulbs going off in these lecture halls. And then I started getting my marketing degree and learning about positioning, where, if you have two accesses, one being price, one being quality, if you're high price, high quality, that's your lane, right? That's the customer you serve. That's how you build the business
Sure.
model. Everything is about that lane. Well, if you're low price, low quality, it'd be kind of weird if you've seen McDonald's, serving some gourmet or,
Yeah.
just
Right.
it's not where we have them in our minds as consumers, nor what they do great. And and so here I was looking at, the larger the home,
Hmm.
the larger the college bills it's going to help me pay. That was my logic,
Yeah.
right? And so here I am working for clients that own homes where they paid more to get more, and they own multiple vehicles where they paid more to have a nicer vehicle, and they went to a nice restaurant, paid more with friends the past weekend. And so here they are in contracting, trying to uh, buy the same way. Hey, I'm going to pay more to get more.
Hmm.
I'm going to spend more and expect to have better products and better labor and more thorough recommendations. Uh, and so they just weren't getting that. And in fact, what they were getting was a very fragmented experience, inconsistent. And that's just contracting in general.
Yeah.
That's quickly changing. Right now, franchising is transforming home improvement, much like franchising did in the quick service restaurant space back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Hmm.
And so, as I'm sitting in these lecture halls and the light bulb's going off, and I look into a national company, or I look for national companies that are doing this, there weren't any. And so I shared what I just shared with you with the mentor, and he handed me a book. He said, Nick, you need to read this. And it was E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Yeah.
And, he has just transformed so many lives through that book. And I'm just one of many. And
Yeah.
thankfully, that mentor gave me that book, but it gave me the framework for the franchise model, which is systems and process
Hmm.
and replicating a consistent service and doing it in a way where you're working on the business, not in the business. But what I really loved about franchising was this whole idea of being in business with other business owners. There are ways to take a service across the country or to other markets that are not franchising. But when I learned about this model of franchising through E-Myth Revisited, I fell in love with it because I resonated with the whole collaborative component of being in business with other
Hmm.
business owners. I grew up a gym rat. One of my favorite things about wrestling and sports was the locker room, the camaraderie, everything that you go through as a team to hit goals, as a team and individually, the lessons you learn, the grind, the ups, the downs,
Yeah.
the journey, you're doing it together, and it clicked in the context of business. And so, that was about 13 years ago. And everything from that point forward has been about franchising. And so in 2016, I joined the IFA and started preparing to scale. I guess prior to that, obviously graduated, moved home to Denver, launched Lime in 2013, and in 16, 17, learned as much as I could about the franchise model. 19 and 20, onboarded our first handful of owners. And in August of 2020, we had 7 locations. If you think about 2020, right, and that dynamic,
Yeah.
that was our year. We were preparing to scale, and we stayed on course despite the ever-changing landscape in business. But if there was one thing I learned about 2008, 2009, it was the resiliency of the painting model. It's a need. It's an old school business. And when you throw in our demographic, it's even more resilient. And I also knew that in a market uncertain, there would be folks wanting to pursue their dreams and take them into their own hands. And so it just seemed like the right opportunity. And regardless, we were going to put our head down and execute on a wall mapped out plan. And so, yeah, a lot of folks and a lot smarter than me, a lot more talented than me that have come alongside our journey. And yeah, we're really just getting started. We're coming up on 100 locations here. We're at the top of 2020. At the top of 2024.
Okay. Well, I say that there's a lot to unpack there. Geez, you know, congratulations on hitting, like I say, coming up on 100 locations. That's significant. And you've done it in a really short period of time, if you think about it from a franchising perspective. And I swear you bring up the E-Myth, Revisited. That book, I've read it too. And that book should be I'm pretty sure it's the franchise Bible now. Like I've had other people mention it as well. It's because of the systems and the processes, and it's why you buy into a franchise to begin with, because those things are established and you don't have to try to figure them out. In the case of Lime, like for one, Lime stands for, it's got a meaning behind that. But what I want to understand is, there's other painting franchises and stuff out there that's, and you could of course start your own business. Why are people buying into Lime itself? Because there's so much growth there. So, unpack the name for a second. And also, why are they buying into the franchise? What's making it? Why are you standing out and people are signing up and, investing? And because you're, like I say, 100 locations in the period of time you've done it in is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Well, first of all, Lime stands for love, integrity, mission, and excellence. And the name comes from the color. It's branding. There's no better sales tool than a job site. And so that was something I realized in college. I was sitting in a subdivision and I was looking down a couple streets and I was just thinking back on my time in school and how many clients I had worked with. And I thought, wow, no one probably even knows that we did all this work in here. And I said, man, if we had a color, at least they would know. Over the years, this purple color came in and transformed all these homes. And so, being that I went to Michigan State and it's green, lime being the most eye-catching, that is really how the name came about. Lime painting is really the branding. And then from there, our core values, came about. So as I mentioned, Lime stands for love, integrity, mission, and excellence.
Okay. So that's, so people are buying it. They like that part of it, because you really are built around it and it's what you're building, your company around. So
yes. But your second part of the question there,
yeah,
I'll get to. Thank you. So there's the name, but the reason why folks are joining Lime, there's a lot of reasons, but I think fundamentally it's an opportunity that has been being built for a long time, and it's founder led, and I'm just one of many folks, and I do my role and I try to do it to the best of my abilities. And that's my role as a visionary. And so I can't run all of Lime. That's not what I mean by being a founder led company. But being that I literally, the light bulb went off in college and the opportunity was seen. And as you heard my story, right, when I shared about joining the International Franchise Association in 16 and 17, that was after a handful of years of moving to Denver and proving out the unit economics and knowing that in college, I was going to franchise, applied my business marketing sales degree to create a scalable business the way that Gerber had outlined it, but received feedback from customers and employees and our artisans and professors, right? I call that time the laboratory. And then I moved home to Denver with the intent to prove out the scalability and the unit economics and to further differentiate our offerings and continue to work out the business model. And so in doing that, we ultimately standardize 40 different services that are painting, coatings, and surface restoration tailored for that luxury client, that custom property owner. And so it made us very differentiated to the customer, but doing that in a way where we know we are going to be franchising and standardizing it so that nationally it would translate, whether it was New Jersey or Florida or Boise or San Diego or anywhere in between. And that's the great thing about our space is we're doing painting and coatings. No matter where you're at watching this video, if you drove to your airport, every building, nearly every surface inside and out has some sort of coating. And so it's an absolutely massive industry. But we are standardizing the niche of luxury, right? That is what we are doing in our space that nobody has ever done before.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say that's what makes sense. So that's what I was looking for is you've got two things going on that I see. One's this you're taking in, you are standardizing things. So you're making the business model a lot easier to run, from that standpoint, both from the owner's perspective, but even from the customer's perspective, because it's easier to understand what you're getting. And then you're going after the luxury space. So you want those high end. So I don't have to do as many jobs. I'll get paid more per job, and I'm taking on potentially bigger jobs. That's the idea. And that's because of your own background says, hey, I'm making, I'm going into these, high end homes, and I'm making a lot more money doing this than you would in other areas. So that makes a lot of sense too, because, from a owner's perspective, if you've already got it figured out how to get to them, that's what people want to buy into, because you've kind of solved that mystery, already.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it goes back to firsthand seeing it in the marketplace, those silly comments on the front and back end. And not to mention, I was 18, 19 with nominal experience winning jobs against national companies and local high-end providers. So, that differentiation in the market, being able to standardize it, not just the services that we offer, but the model in general regarding every component from marketing to technology to recruiting and everything in between. We call it the Lime Way. And you were talking about it earlier. You can spend a lot of years and time and money competing and figuring out a service or a product. And in a franchise, the great thing about it is everything about support and the business planning, the language in general, even the way that the year is approached, the different timeframes of the year, and how folks are talking about the year and collaborating. If you're in cohorts with other owners, collaborating and talking about the Lime Way and benchmarking yourself to best practices, that is an instant win, right? And that takes a leadership team that is willing to be franchise owner focused and really does believe in, where the best ideas win out, and creating systems where collaboration and feedback really drive the core of the business, right? As an organization, the market's always changing. you're always going to have to adjust. And in a franchise, that those adjustments should be collaborative
Hmm.
and from the bottom up, because guess what? Those employees on the front lines are the ones serving customers and understand if our technology needs to be updated, or if the clients or the subs are experiencing some process that's just silly, you name it. But having a collaborative culture that empowers franchise owners to be a part of the process, I'd say that those are a few reasons, right? The differentiation of the model, what we're doing from a luxury standpoint, the intentionality and deep infrastructure behind the model, and the support that complements that winning formula.
Yeah.
Uh, and then on the back end, the culture, love, integrity, mission, excellence, and creating a collaborative environment where we want to empower and
Hmm.
provide paths for people to change their lives through a career, and also impact their community along the way. So
Yeah.
that the mission, right? That's our give back. That's using our business or using the franchise model, this service at scale, to impact and use the business as a platform to do good in the community. Not only is it directly doing that, but it's instilling a certain way of doing business for the folks that are working within the organization.
Yeah. Let me ask you, for the business owner themselves, because I've talked to some other people that are in the contracting type space, and a lot of the times subs come up. So what I'm wondering is kind of the day in the life, like what, and the staffing requirements for a Lime franchise are they using subs as needed? Do they have employees, that they end up hiring that are, typically, doing all the jobs? What does the staffing model look like, and what is the franchise or franchisee, that business owner, what's their role? What do they need to be doing within the business?
Okay, a few questions there. Subcontractors, I love that one. And in terms of just the org chart, it's a simple model. So we have sales folks, and we have a creator who is our production coordinator. It's the
Okay.
quarterback of production. He or she works with our subcontractors, our clients, and our sales team, right?
Okay.
That's our quarterback. And then we have our artisans, our subcontractors. So yeah, it's nominal staffing.
Okay.
And on our end, we provide a lot of support around uh, recruiting those sales teams, all the way down to vetted candidates, right? So to the sales culture within the organization, and the training, the tools, the support, everything else to complement an owner that is going to be scaling across multiple territories with a sales organization. In terms of subcontractors, because of our demographic, our clients, they pay more to get more. So
Yeah.
much like Uber Black, right?
Eh,
You upgrade to a nicer vehicle.
yeah.
With Lime, you upgrade to the best craftsman in the market, and that's what our process is tailored for. It is you talk about the Lime way. Okay, well, how do we recruit and onboard and retain the artisans? There's a whole process for that, and where we go to find them, and do that
Yeah.
as we scale our business. But the key here, and what makes all of this work, is our niche. The fact that that client upgraded for Uber Black.
Yeah.
And then we can go out as Uber Black and pair the nicer vehicle with the
Gotcha.
client that upgraded for Uber Black.
Right. So that's a really good comparison, actually, because since you're tailoring to upscale, homeowners and such, they're going to pay more, and then you're able to go find subs. And I assume, as the franchisor, because you know who you're looking for, you're probably helping the franchisees, find some of those people. I would think. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so you help them find, some of those subs, but those subs are able to make a bit more money. So you're able to get the best of the best in there to work for you. You know, you still don't end up having them on staff, which keeps your costs because they're going to do other jobs and stuff, but you're always courting and they want to work with you because you're actually able to pay them a little bit of a premium versus who they might get from Joe, down the street who's, like taking whatever job they can get their hands on. Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. So how many staff would you actually say, like even just say a mature franchise, how many actual direct employees would they have? Because the subs, I mean, that grows over time as you take on more jobs. But how many people do you end up hiring, even if you're mature, a couple of years down the road?
Oh, it's a handful.
Yeah, and primarily in sales, right?
Exactly.
Okay, okay, good. So, okay, so what's the day in the life of the franchisee? What does it look like for them?
Thank you. Yeah. So, as an owner at Lime, there's a few different paths you can take. One, you're a full time owner operator. We always are developing our owner operators to scale and work on their business and learn how to develop and to be able to do that. And another path is our empire building path, also known as semi absentee, where you are building a team and scaling a team. Again, simple model, sales and production,
Yeah,
and we are subcontracting our artisans. I will say that our semi absentee owners, if you're coming into the business year one, you should be uber conservative with investment projections.
yeah,
We require that if you're coming in day one, you have team building experience. It isn't your first time building a team in a professional setting, and so even with that experience, you are going to have a learning curve for building up your team and replicating the winning formula. The great thing is you have all the training and blueprints and tools and resources and coaches to be able to lean on in doing that. But I am saying that you should be conservative with your cash projections when looking into a semi-absentee path, and also really lean into the ability to scale a sales organization. That's what Lime is. So those are our two caveats. Really confident in sales, and you have been a team builder in a professional setting. But if you are doing that up front, you're still going to have to work the business. Even though you
hmm
hire a general manager day one, you're going to put in 20 hours, especially year one, year two, and maybe even more. Right? Depends on your ability to delegate and really support your general manager in a productive manner. So we look at it a lot like an executive MBA, right? Where
yeah,
you can tailor those 20 hours around your professional career, but you need to be ensuring that you are scaling behavior across your team. And so those are the paths with line painting and your hours. As an owner operator, I mean, my goodness, you could be 40, 60 plus, right? You're doing everything, but you're keeping everything.
yeah,
And so there's a couple reasons that are beneficial for that owner operator path. One, you learn the business, and then you can really scale and drive as you get into that role because you've been there, done it. You know the intricacies and can scale that behavior. Um, and also, just purely from an investment standpoint, if that's where you can get in day one, well, it's exciting to know that over time you can continue to reinvest and
hmm
scale and build your business and work yourself into a position of working on it as you scale across your territories.
yeah. Okay, so let's talk from an investment standpoint. What is it? What kind of costs are you looking at to get involved in a with a Lime franchise? From the franchise fee to the typical startup costs. If you're keeping aside, if it's including like operating capital for a certain amount of time, and I know it's going to be a range because markets are always going to be a little different on what it takes to get going. But what is just your averages?
Yeah, it's anywhere between 125 and 200 for a
Okay.
single territory. And a single territory franchise fee is 60,000. We have up to 65,000 in working capital just set
Okay.
aside there
Okay.
within that range.
Yeah, that's
So
significant for working capital. So it's not all, hey, I got to buy all of this stuff and I'm out the money. You're saying, hey, we're giving you runway here.
oh, absolutely. We're saying, hey, if you're wanting to come in and start scaling this thing right off the bat, go for it, but be conservative with your projections. We want you
Hmm.
to do it responsibly, and we want to have want to make sure number one you're qualified and capable.
Yeah.
But yes, have a conservative amount of working capital there. And so, conservative is also relative. It depends on the operator, depends on the market, depends on a lot of things. But yes, that is 6 months of working capital.
Okay.
Generally, it's about 3 months. So we have worked in about twice kind of the standard, which is 3 months of working capital. And the intent was to provide just that, more financial flexibility as you're learning and ramping. You should never be in a position where you're concerned to execute because of your cash position. You should always be in a clear headspace so that you can do the behavior that's going to drive your business and scale it. So, that's really the intent behind that.
Yeah. It makes total sense. Do you have any other particular costs from a like vehicle standpoint? We got to get something wrapped or whatever it might be. Is there, because there's going to be some sort of, other setup you're going to have to go through, I'd assume.
Absolutely. What's great is we're a brick and mortar. So there's no office, no build out. The only thing that you're acquiring is a truck and you're wrapping
Okay.
it. It's a great promotional item. In your startup costs, you're going to have your initial marketing collateral, all your assets, apparel, really anything that it takes to launch the business there within those first 6 months from a marketing and apparel and just general advertising and technology launch there. So all of those costs are within that 125 to 200, and that also includes the 65K. But it is just a vehicle. I mean, that's really your. I guess there is some hardware. There's a
Yeah.
computer. There's a smartphone, so some hardware there, very practical stuff,
Sure.
but nothing major.
Okay. Well, it's a really, you've got a lot of people buying into this opportunity and painting. I mean, I love the fact that you go for that upscale market. It distinguishes you. Obviously, your franchise owners must, really love it too. And part of it is like, it seems like you don't think of yourself as a painting company so much as a sales organization, and we happen to sell painting, and the people we bring on to do the work, the artisans, do a really good job. So I think those are, all really key points, for your franchise. Uh, hey, we're at the end. We're going to wrap this up. If somebody wants to inquire about a Lime franchise, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, you can check out our podcast called The Level Up Show. You can find it on any platform. You can also go on to limepainting.com, Lime Painting Franchise. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can just simply shoot me an email at nick@limepainting.com.
Okay. Hey, this has been another great episode of Emerging Brands Franchises on the Rise. We've been talking painting with Lime Painting. And if you're thinking of, getting into sort of a service oriented business, painting is a really good opportunity. There's so much, and going after that upscale is something that you do not see every franchise, doing. And I think that's really important. It's something that you really want to consider, because you don't need to do as many small jobs. You can do a smaller number of jobs with a much bigger ticket price. And that's really good. I mean, it's like, and you've got an organization that's got a good reputation. You've got a lot of people buying into it that, so you're going to have that support structure. They've really figured out how to make it a process. And that is really important with any franchise. And you're going to have a high level, high chance of success. You're still going to have to put the work in. Business is business. You have to put in the work on your part. But Lime is giving you an opportunity where they've really figured it out. And I think it's something you should check out. Hey, I'm your host, Cash Miller, and I'm also the CEO of Titan Media Works. We do podcast production. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.